Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm King Sway, and this is 5 superpowers that would really suck, that would suck in real life, part one. If I remember correctly, it's by Needle Mouse. Um, I figured this would be something different. You know, I do Sentinel and everything, and his superpowers, and been doing enough, seeing enough with anime and superhero stuff and comics. One of these days, I'm gonna bring my comics down from upstairs. Well, I used to have a giant collection, but I lost it to a fire and a flood, respectively. I had over 1,000 comics, but one day, what I have now, parts of what I have now, I'll bring them down and show them to you guys. But yeah, you know, like I do anime and I do comics, so the superpower thing isn't foreign to me. Hopefully, it's not foreign to you, especially if like you watch my content, because some of that stuff is anime based. Even though I found out a lot of my stuff lately has been kill count based, but that's because I like scary movies. Anyway, I'm talking too much. Let's jump into this.
Superheroes and villains are very entertaining, as there's nothing quite like a fight between two people with godlike superpowers. Though there are some powers that they have that just don't make any sense, such as how does Magneto move metals that are non-magnetic, when all he can do is control magnetic fields? He can't just control metal, it's just magnetism, so it doesn't really make sense. And how does Johnny Storm breathe when he's flamed on, since the fire would burn away all the oxygen around him before it could reach his mouth, and then asphyxiate him until he was depowered or unconscious. Now, we all know these flaws are there, but we love comics and we love superheroes and the idea of having powers. So for the most part, we just let these things go and enjoy the stories.
The Omega
But there are
beams
some powers
from
that
Dark
sound
Side.
great, but really they just wouldn't work in real life. And this video is going to go over 5 of them.
Needle Mouse
Number
Productions.
5. Invisibility. Being invisible is a popular power, as we've all felt like just disappearing at one point or another in our lives. And when you're invisible, you can do anything you want, and no one will know it's you doing it. And you can go anywhere you want because no one can see you, so no one can stop you. But the problem with this power is that when you turn invisible, you become blind.
Yeah,
you see, human
there's no
eyes
light
work
getting
with
to you.
light
If you're
going into our
refracting
eyes
light,
and reflecting
you got to
back
do
on us. That's how we see. That
infrared.
reflection is important for us to be able to see our surroundings.
As I was saying.
But if you're invisible, then that light won't reflect off your eyes, it'll just pass right through you, and so you'd instantly become blind. And although this doesn't make the power completely useless, after all, you can still disappear and hide from someone, but I think not being able to see would really ruin the power, as it wouldn't be nearly as useful. I mean, if you wanted to sneak in somewhere or steal something, then you'd have to memorize the exact route you'd have to take beforehand.
And walk around,
you just wouldn't be able to get there.
That or be on some Daredevil type stuff.
The route of a complex place is pretty difficult, especially if there's moving parts or other people going around, because you wouldn't be able to see them and you could walk straight into them. And if you turn invisible, there's also the factor that you might not be able to turn your clothes invisible. It could just be your power is to make your body invisible.
Yeah, like Violence Survivor, or what they did to Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four movie, the two Fantastic Four movies.
Although with that being said,
first two.
There are of course materials made in movies and comics that can turn invisible with a person, so they wouldn't technically have to be naked all the time. But whether materials like this could be made in the real world is another story, because nothing like that.
Oh, y'all just running around.
So if you did have this superpower in the real world, then you'd have to be blind and naked to turn invisible and use it properly. So it wouldn't end up being a very useful
Rise of the Silver Surfer. I hated that one.
Number 4. Super Strength.
You leave that alone.
Super Strength is one of the most common superpowers, probably because it's something we all want at some point in our lives, especially when you're moving house. And fighting criminals is way easier when you're super strong. I mean, it's much easier to stand up for someone and stand up for justice when you know you can easily defeat the person you're facing without even breaking a sweat.
I love that. I love Angel.
Constantly getting fights. Super Strength.
Even though Gina Carano's political platform, she's on some bullshit.
Super Strength.
Joining Parlor and whatnot.
Super Strength powers as well that could be the same or even stronger than yours. It does make for an
Sentinel did that to his son.
You take them down. Just look at the fight in Deadpool 2, where Colossus, who has super strength, took down the Juggernaut, who still has super strength, but on a way higher scale than Colossus does. And for the most part, having super strength would be pretty useful. The only problem would be that you would probably break everything around you. I mean,
right
personally,
in his
I'm
balls.
heavy-handed,
And
and
he
I can be
trips
a
him,
bit
and they shove a
clumsy.
wire up his
And if I
butt.
had this power, I know I would cause a lot of
And he
destruction,
tries to close the door and it
purely
doesn't
by
because the hood's
accident.
down.
I'm always knocking
Yeah.
things or
He
walking
shuts
into
the door,
things.
the
And if I
window.
was super strong, I'd be knocking those things over, and if I caught my arm or something on a door frame, I'd be knocking that door or the wall off. And if you grabbed a
And he
door to
slowly puts
open
it
it and you
down.
pulled too hard, you could easily rip the handle off the door, or just rip the door clean off the hinges. And if you did something as simple as just kicking or punching a wall in frustration, you'd either knock down the wall or possibly knock down the whole house. And say you're doing
Sentinel
something every
said
day, like just going on a computer, and the mouse
he
or
feels
keyboard
like the
stops
world
working.
is wet
Normally, you just
cardboard
give
to
them a little
him.
knock to see if you can get them
His
working again.
biggest
And if you
fear
did that little bang and you had
is
super
crushing one
strength,
of his
then your
kids
hand would go
or his
through the
wife
computer's table. And there's also the
when
fact
all
it
he
would
wants to
control
do is
you when
hug
you're
him.
asleep. I actually move around quite a lot in my sleep, and a lot
He's
of people do
constantly
move in their
controlling
sleep
his
to a certain
strength.
degree. It's quite a common thing. But if you moved in your sleep and you had super strength, even if you only moved a little, you could easily end up knocking your partner out of bed. And if you hit them hard enough, you could actually break their bones and seriously hurt them. And this is actually very likely to happen to people. I mean, even if you just stubbed your toe on a coffee table while you're walking by it, you'd probably kick the coffee table across the room and break it into pieces. And you could never drink alcohol or do any drugs, because if you did and you blacked out and lost control, you could destroy a lot of stuff and potentially hurt a lot of people and go to jail for a
There are
very
still
long
people that
time.
wouldn't care.
So the biggest problem with this superpower
They
is
think
that it's
that's
very
funny.
hard to control the super strength. And it's a lot of responsibility you'd have to take on, as a lot of things could go wrong, and you'd always have to stay in control to make sure you didn't hurt anyone by accident. And keeping in control and staying
Clayface.
responsible 24/7, well, that would get pretty old pretty quick. Number 3. Invulnerability. Again, this is one of the most popular powers for superheroes to have, because it means that they can't be hurt at all. And it is literally the perfect ability to have in a fight, as they can punch you as hard as they like, they're just going to end up breaking their hand. And again, this is a superpower that most people want at some point. I mean, who out of us actually enjoys being in pain? Pretty much no one. And one of the many superheroes to have this power is Superman, although he also, of course, has a lot of other powers.
Flashpoint.
But his
I love
skin
that one.
is knife-proof, bulletproof, and can even have an explosive device go off in his hands and be completely fine, not so much as a scratch or even a wince of pain.
Waiting is the worst part.
But the problem
Heat
is,
wave.
if you can't feel an explosive device or bullet hitting you, then how numb would your body constantly be? You wouldn't even be able to feel someone touch you, kiss you, or do anything to you.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even be able to enjoy a warm shower, as the invulnerable can walk through lava and not feel a thing, so obviously hot water would be nothing to them. Of course, if you were hit hard enough, you would feel it, which probably explains why so many invulnerable people are constantly getting in fights, as it's most likely the only way they can actually feel something. And this power could also backfire, and instead of keeping you safe from being hurt, it could actually kill you. After all, if you had any health problems, such as appendicitis, then your invulnerability would stop the surgeons from being able to cut you open and take out your appendix.
Yeah.
And this could potentially kill you. And this is
Never
true
thought
of
about
pretty much
that.
every other serious health problem, such as a person having a heart attack. I mean, how do you start the heart of someone who's invulnerable? They can get struck by lightning and walk it off. So it seems like a defibrillator.
Sentinel's
wouldn't
actually
be
been
much at
struck
all.
by lightning. If
And
you
any
had,
surgery you'd need to correct anything
his son
just wouldn't be
hits him with
possible at
lightning
all.
twice and he
Imagine if you got
tanks
a really
a
bad
whole lightning
toothache
bolt to
and
the
it was
face.
absolute agony. You wouldn't be able to get rid of it because you're invulnerable, and you just have to live in the pain. And that's the problem with invulnerability. I mean, if you could turn it on or off at will, it would actually be extremely useful. But if it was on all the time, it would probably end up driving you insane. Number 2. Mind reading. Now, this power could actually be pretty useful. You could find out if a girl likes you, find out someone's PIN number, and if you used it in conjunction with the police, you could actually help them find and
Y'all
stop
make me
dangerous
wonder about y'all.
criminals. And for the most part, this
My
power
cats.
would be fine. The only real downside is that no one would ever trust you again, as they'd think you are constantly reading
Their
minds,
mind.
and they just wouldn't want to talk to you or be near you because
Or
they
even
don't
be
want
near
people
you,
poking
yeah.
around in their head. And if you did actually have friends who stuck by you and you did read their minds, you might end up finding out things that you never wanted to know,
Yeah.
such as how people really feel about you.
Love you.
I can't even look at you.
And no one could ever lie to you again either, even if they're trying to say something nice about you as a white lie, such as, "You look good today." You'd know if it isn't true, and that's going to hurt. You'd also never be allowed to go into certain places where government employees were. You'd have
Yeah.
to keep a certain range from officials. I mean, after all, you couldn't go near the president when he's got the launch code for nukes, because you could easily read them and take him out of his mind. So there'd actually be a lot of restrictions on what you could do.
If somebody knew you were a mind reader.
Information. So most likely any country you were living in would actually end up giving you a permanent escort to make sure you're not going in the wrong places. Though, of course, that's only if people actually know about your powers.
What'd I
If
just
you keep
say?
it to yourself, that's not really an issue. But even if you do keep it to yourself, you'd still have the problem of always knowing if a person is lying to you.
Knowledge is a burden sometimes.
People lie to each other a lot. It's not just saying you look good when you look bad, but it's also little things like a person could make a joke and it wasn't really that funny, but people laugh at it anyway because it puts them at ease. And then you'd know that it's a fake laugh. And you might even find out they actually are laughing at you, not with you, or something similar. It's just those little things that happen every day where people tell little white lies, such as, "Oh yeah, I don't mind going to that shop, it's okay, we can go to the other one," when inside they're thinking, "Oh my god, I hate him, how comes he wouldn't let me go to that shop?" It's little things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it would be really annoying always knowing that they're lying to you. You'd always feel kind of crap, to be honest. Though to be fair, this is far from the worst thing that could actually happen to you if you had superpowers. But it is a real downside to the whole mind-reading thing.
The astral plane.
Number 1. Super speed. Now, you may think that super speed is a pretty useful power, and to be fair...
Only if you can stop as fast as you can start.
You could run on water, and in some cases even run through time, and travel to anywhere on the planet, and also in any time period on the planet, which would be pretty cool. But the merits of this power are actually its very downfall. Yes, you could go anywhere at super speed, but once you get there, you'd have to slow down to do anything, as any interaction with people will require you to slow down extremely, because people can't move and talk at the same speed as you can. It would basically be like everyone around you is constantly moving in slow motion.
Yeah.
And it would be infuriating. I mean, it could be fun at first, zipping around them and doing things they can't see, but you'd pretty quickly get sick of it, because everyone would talk slowly.
Everybody's so slow.
And it would just be extremely annoying, because you know you can move at super speed. An example of this was actually shown in Marvel Comics, when Quicksilver's powers were explained with a scenario. Imagine you're in a queue at an ATM, and there is an old lady in front of you who is confused by the machinery and doesn't really know what they're doing, and they're taking forever to get their money out. And you've been waiting for 10-15 minutes, when you know that you could easily just go in front of her, get your money out and go, and you'd be done in 30 seconds, and then you could just get on with your day. And this would be a speedster's life, constantly waiting for others, getting more and more infuriated at how long everyone is taking to do a task which you could do in a single second. I mean, this power would literally drive anyone insane with boredom.
Yeah.
And there was also the problem of moving through a town at super speed. When the
shockwaves, the sonic booms, the shockwaves.
In real life, this would be a disaster. You see, when an object moves at high speeds, there is a shockwave that goes with it.
What did I just say?
Standing on a train platform and a train zooms by, you can feel the wind whipping in your face as it goes.
Slipstream.
It's the same if a car goes past you really fast. You can feel that shockwave with it. So if a person was moving at super speeds, their shockwave would be devastatingly powerful. It would be very dangerous and could destroy a lot of things. Running fast so you can go across water or even run through time would take an incredible amount of momentum. And with that momentum building up, when you run by anywhere, you'd literally rip trees out of the ground with your shockwave. And you couldn't just run into a room at super speed, do something, and then run out again. As
because
the also does in
TV show. It'll drag somebody out with you.
Take with you would blast air everywhere. It would throw papers into the air and probably knock people over with its force. So you'd have to limit how fast you went, at least in certain areas, to limit the destruction you'd cause when you're moving at high speeds. And of
Is that Wally West?
That you'd have to eat
I'm asking because the suit's different.
And God alone knows how many calories every day just to stay alive, as you'd constantly be burning through energy.
But
now,
Zoom,
to eat a lot may not
Zoom is a Barry Allen
but it would be
villain.
Extremely expensive, and you'd have to be constantly eating. And when you do eat, it would have to be food condensed in fat and calories in order to eat enough to keep you going. So it probably wouldn't taste very good anyway. Though on the plus side, it would always stop you from being fat. But even still, although this power does have some upsides, it has some enormous downsides.
Force equals mass times acceleration.
Of course,
and if his body can take the force,
but they
I like that costume, the gauntlets.
Now, I do have to say with all of these powers that there are exceptions to all the problems I've listed, as the powers can work differently from superpowered person to superpowered person. I mean, if a person got these powers through magic, well, the magic probably warps the rules of physics to make these problems go away. But for the most part, these powers would work as I've said, and they might actually end
I
up
haven't
being
seen
more
that
trouble
one.
than they're worth. Now, I'm not trying to rain on anyone's parade, as I personally love superpowers, and I would have any one of these superpowers if I was given the choice. But in the real world, great power comes with a price, and this video is just saying that although
I
it
know
does seem
Barda.
great, there's always a
I
downside
don't
to
know
having
that
these
one.
great
I
gifts.
haven't seen that one.
And that is it for this video.
Young
Are
Justice
there any
Season
other
2.
problems that you can see with these powers? And are there
Black
any
Beetle and
other
Blue Beetle.
superpowers that you think would be more hassle than they're worth? Be sure to let us know in the comments, and I'd just like to say a quick thank you to those who made
Sentinel's,
this video possible by donating
s-
to the Needle Mouse
second
Productions
son
page on Patreon.
pulls
And as
a
always,
beetle.
thanks for watching, and feel free to subscribe, share, like, and comment.
He calls him Tech Knight, but that's because they don't really have a name for him. But he makes it. He can turn his body into into biotech. Y'all keep looking behind me. Like, what are y'all looking at? When I do a video, I must make sure y'all ain't in the room. I just did a kill count video, and I pulled my cat up, so when I'm talking, you guys know. When I'm looking around, like I said, I'm looking at my cats, and they'll look at me, and then they'll look all around. Like I hate that. Like what? Yeah, no, pineapples, no. But that's 5 superpowers that would suck in real life. Part 1. We might do part 2, and I think he has 5 superpowers he actually wants. We'll probably get into that at a later date, but until that time comes, yeah, upper left hand corner, 5 more superpowers that would suck. So we'll get into 5 best superpowers to have in real life. Got them both as I'm saying it. He's got them both there, but we'll cover those at a later date. I'm King Sway. As ever, as always, I'll catch you in the next one.